Aloha and mahalo for joining me. I'm Janin, and welcome to the Call to Create podcast. I'm so excited that you're here today, and let's get to our topic today. And today I wanted to talk about something that I've been experiencing for the last 6 months since we've had to stay at home more and with all this whole pandemic thing. But it's about snacking away your frustrations because I've been snacking away my frustrations. Now, that's really not a good thing. I can tell you that because snacking, for one thing, has no benefits, but then thinking that snacking is going to take away your frustrations is like, no, it's not going to take away your frustrations. But that's what I've been doing. I have been snacking so much more than I think I've ever done in years. Like in the last 6 months, I probably snacked more than I have in the last 20 years, maybe. Like every day, many times a day, I'm going in the kitchen and I'm looking for something sweet. I'm eating chips and chocolate, and my husband he loves sugar more than me, I think. But the other night he made brownies, and he's always like snacking too lately. I think he's just as much stressed or frustrated as I am. And so he's like buying a lot of junk food. He's buying a lot of snacks, and then occasionally if I go to the store, I'll get, cookies or something. It's just really bad. That's all I have to say, is that it's not good. And when I get frustrated, I feel like I don't use all the techniques that I've tried to use before, and there's techniques I'm going to talk about that maybe you can try to use if you're frustrated, instead of going to the kitchen and snacking and eating things that are really not good for your health. They taste good in your mouth at the moment that you're eating it, but later on, your stomach, well, my stomach starts to feel a little funny, and it doesn't make me feel good. Like I start feeling really tired, because anytime you eat sugar, you get that high, it makes you feel good, and then you get that sugar crash later. And everybody's different as far as when that crash happens, but it usually happens. So that's why when you get that crash and then you feel more frustrated, you have to eat more sugar, and then you just go into that spiral. But like eating chips and all that kind of stuff, it tastes so good when you're eating it. It makes you feel so good and you want more. And you can't just eat a few chips. You have to eat like half the bag, and maybe more. But even with sugar, like it tastes so good in your mouth, and then you want more and more because that's all you're thinking about, right? Majority of the time when we do things, it's because of a feeling that we want. Nobody wants to really feel frustrated or anything like that. I've never met anyone who have said that they like feeling frustrated or they like feeling bad. So we tend to, I think, as human beings, try to find something that can make us feel better or take away the frustration. At least that's what I've learned from all the people that I've ever been around and talked to. So going to the kitchen and finding the snacks, especially the unhealthy ones, is a way for me and many other people that I know to just get rid of that frustration. Like we're so frustrated, and that feelings in our body, and it just like makes you want to scream sometimes. And to alleviate that and get rid of that, like my first reaction is just to go to the kitchen and see, if I can eat something and it'll take my mind off of it and maybe it'll feel better. And even though in the back of my mind I know like that's really not going to make me feel better, but in that moment when you're eating that snack and it tastes so good, like that just takes you out of your frustration for that minute. But then the reality is, right, once you're done eating that snack, you got to go back to whatever was frustrating you. Like when I'm working, and because I have to help my husband with his business too, I do all the paperwork and all that business stuff and the finances. So if things are frustrating in that too, or things are taking too long or anything like that, the first thing I do is I stand up and go to the kitchen. Okay, but I have other things that I've done before, but lately, the last 6 months, I haven't done any of those alternatives. So I want to talk about those alternatives because I want to help you to not go to the kitchen and snack and eat junk food, because it just is not helping your health or your hormones or your mood or anything. Snacking is just a temporary relief. Temporary meaning maybe only like 5 minutes. So some of the things that you can do is like you can journal, like start writing things out. Like I always talk about how powerful it is when you actually use a physical writing instrument and a notebook, paper, whatever have you, and just start writing how you're feeling. Another idea would be to do something creative. Now, I remember, because I've always done something creative like almost on a daily basis since I was a little kid. And I've always known that when I do something creative and that I'm totally interested in, and it's just like really cool, like to me, I'm like, oh, this is so cool while I'm creating whatever it is, whether it's doing a craft or sewing or doing anything like that. Or I love a little bit of woodworking too, especially because my husband's a construction contractor. He has all the power tools, and I love power tools. So anytime that I'm doing anything like that, whether it's creating, using power tools, working with wood, painting something, like I love painting wood, and it just got me out of any like frustration or irritation I was feeling, and it just helped me deal with things better in a better way, because I'm using all that energy that I have in a better way to create something versus eating something that's really bad for my health. And so that's another option too. So you have to find out like what works for you, and sometimes you have to try many things first before you actually find what really works. So these are some of the suggestions. Another one is to just close your eyes and to just breathe. Do that deep belly breathing. You know, breathe in through your nose and expand your belly, and then breathe out through your mouth, and then, you know, contract your belly. That helps too with frustration. I tend to not do that very often because sometimes I want that instant relief, and then the sugar like has that instant relief at that moment. Okay, so that's not a good thing though, because after I don't feel good, like for the rest of the day, it just doesn't make me feel good. Sugar will never make you feel good long term, maybe only for the first 5 minutes. So think about what you can do. I'm just talking about past experience and what I'm doing, and you might have another idea. Like some of you maybe like exercising, and you know, maybe you can, if you have a bicycle, you can go out and ride around your neighborhood, or you can do some exercises at home. Exercise is actually another great way of letting out frustration. And especially like when I used to go walking with a friend, it was great because I could talk out whatever problems I was having or frustration I was feeling, and it just helps to talk things out. So if you could do that, you know, call someone if you know someone that you can call to just talk your frustration out. It's always good to have a listening ear for somebody who, you know, really cares and wants to hear what you have to say and wants to support you. I always will suggest that you find someone like that to support you, that you can call or text at any time. Okay, that's powerful to have that kind of support, because you may not always have that support in your family. So maybe find someone, you know, a good friend or something. I have that. I have a really close friend. So those are some ideas, but figure out like what works for you and maybe what you can come up with, because snacking to take your frustration out doesn't work long term. It only works for 5 minutes. That's all it's ever worked for me, is 5 minutes. Maybe 10 if, you know, I ate more for a longer period of time. But really, you know, just think about what you can do, and think about, you know, how is this frustration happening a lot. And for me, I know it's like specific things that happen a lot. So it's not a lot of different things that are causing me frustration. It's just a couple things that happen constantly that I get frustrated. And so because it happens constantly and it's the same couple of things, Like some days I'm just like, okay, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I head to the kitchen, and that's not a good thing when you work at home, because you can easily go to the kitchen and just eat. Okay, and it's not working because like all my pants are tight now, so can't button it anymore. So think about this, and if you're feeling frustrated or whatever kind of emotion you're going through, think about how you can deal with it in a much better way than snacking. Yeah, snacking. Now, if you are so like one of those people or persons that can actually go to the kitchen and eat like carrots or I don't know, something healthy for snacking, that's good. I hope you can teach other people how to do that, because snacking for me, like eating all the healthy foods, does not help me with my frustration. So anyway, I just wanted to share this with you today. And please share this podcast with anyone who you know would get great value out of listening to it, especially if you know that they're thinking about starting their own business. Or even if they're not, there's still great value that I share in each episode that can bring value to women, even if they aren't interested in starting their own business. And please rate and review this podcast. I would appreciate it. And thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Aloha.